Buying a home? Don't panic. Just listen to the rest of this podcast. Welcome to Home Inspection Authority's Straight Talk podcast with me, John Laforme. Are you a home buyer, a realtor, or maybe a home inspector? If you are, then this podcast is definitely for you. So let's get right into some straight talk about home inspections. All right, everybody, we're back. It's episode 4, and today we are going to discuss sewer lines, sewer laterals, that pipe that carries all that nasty stuff from the house all the way to the street, and why this needs to be inspected when you're buying a house, whether it's new or old, doesn't matter. As a home inspector, I've been doing sewer line inspections purely out of demand from the clients. When my phone rings, I answer the question, "Oh, hey, they ask me, can you do a home inspection?" I'm like, "Sure, of course, that's what we do." And then right after that is, "Can you do the sewer?" Years ago, I had to say, "Well, no, but I can try to line somebody up for you." And that worked out well for a little while. And then it turned into a nightmare trying to manage someone else who had another business, and they just weren't giving it the attention it needed, and it just went bad. So I decided to invest a lot of money into buying some gear, and I think it was a good choice. And the reason why I did that was because my customers are every day when they call me, they're always asking me to do the sewer lines. So why not do it as a general home inspector? Now, keep in mind, I'm only doing the inspections. I don't do repairs. So I'm not going to give you a cost evaluation of a issue I find. If I find a broken pipe, or if I find a bunch of cast iron that's just in really poor condition, or if I find Orangeburg pipe, I'm not going to give you quotes to repair that stuff. I'm then going to recommend you call a qualified licensed plumber. So today I have a special guest with me, and this is Robert Deyl from Robert Deyl Plumbing. And how you doing, Robert?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good this morning, John. Yourself?
All right. So I just want to let you know you're my very first guest.
Oh, right on. Thanks. It's an honor to be here.
So tell me a little about yourself, Robert.
So I'm a licensed plumber, and I've got around 15 years experience in the plumbing industry and about 12 years experience running sewer camera equipment and working on sewer lines, making sewer repairs, etc. So I've seen a lot of things in sewer lines to know that it's definitely something that needs to be inspected when you're buying a home, because I would have to say most properties out there have sewer problems, and you want to find out, before you close on a property, that the sewer line doesn't have too many serious problems that could
be expensive.
It could be expensive, cost some big bucks to fix.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an important thing. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a good point you just brought up. The unknown is a sewer camera is a sewer line.
Yes,
it's the unknown, and it can be very expensive. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today to kind of throw out there what basic costs are. So I'm going to come up with some scenarios for you. Sure. We've been on houses together before in the past, so I know what you do. You know what I do, so this should go really easy as far as what kind of answering some questions I might have. So basically, back to the importance of the sewer camera inspection. Whether you have a plumber do it or your home inspector do it, doesn't matter. You just need to get a camera in there to see the condition. It is the only way to know if there's a problem. So let me clear the air on some old folk tales. And here's the one that still cracks me up to this day. When a realtor says, "Oh, were all the sinks and the toilets flushing or draining?" Well, yeah. Okay, so we don't need the sewer line camera inspection then, do we? No, you still need the sewer camera inspection. The only way I'm going to detect or Robert's going to detect if a line is already backed up, is if it's already backed up. You can't just go into a house and turn on a faucet and then determine, oh, well, the sink didn't back up, so I guess we don't have a problem. That's not how this works. Okay, right. We need to clear the air on this. I'm trying to explain this in the simplest layman's terms as possible. That does not dictate whether or not you need a sewer camera inspection. So, am I right, Robert?
No, you're absolutely right. And also, if the home was recently built or new, we get that sometimes. Oh, this is a new property, or recently they remodeled the whole house. Do I still need a sewer inspection? And the answer to that is yes, because we always see builder defects, and sometimes they'll completely demo a house, build a new one, and then reconnect to an old sewer line that has serious issues.
Yeah, and on that note, I've done several brand new houses where construction debris was completely blocking the line. And everyone's like, oh, how can that be? I'm like, what do you mean, how can that be? Because some knucklehead just dropped, probably didn't have a cap over the toilet flange while they were doing the drywall or something, and dropped a bunch of drywall down there. And no one's going to try to clean it out. They're probably just, oh, it'll flush out. No, not really. Right. So I found lots of issues with brand new construction. And here's another spoiler alert for everybody. This is one I get a lot. Oh, well, I don't think we need to do the sewer today. I'm like, oh, why is that? Well, there's a brand new ABS plastic clean out there. Fantastic. I'm glad you're very observant and you noticed that there's a brand new shiny cap sticking out of the ground. That does not mean the whole pipe is that material.
Right.
That's a sewer access, which means it may only go down a few feet and then turn into cast iron, right, or clay, or Orangeburg for all we know.
Right. I see that as well too. Like a home from the 50s with a newer ABS plastic sewer clean out the material wasn't here till around the 70s. So when I see that, I know they've probably had a sewer problem at some point and had to install the clean out to get into the line and kind of try to clear things up or maintain things. So when I see that, I know I really got to be careful and see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always these little telltale signs of, what we might expect, during these inspections. And we'll talk real quick about low flow toilets and cast iron pipe.
Oh yeah,
that's a lovely combination, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So you get cast iron pipe under your house, which means it's from what year would you think? 40s, 50s?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the homes, in our area, San Fernando Valley, are from the 50s. Yeah, and it's all lead and oakum cast iron piping from the old tradesmen had to install it the hard way.
Yeah, and those pipes, cast iron, it just corrodes from the inside out. It starts flaking on the inside. So, and then, hey, California came up with let's not waste water, which I think is a great idea. Let's not waste water. But when you take away the amount of gallons going down a toilet, pushing toiletries down there, and it's getting caught up on a cast iron pipe because it's all, scaled up and it's not smooth anymore. So a drain pipe, if you look it up, a drain pipe is intended to be a smooth, round surface.
Right.
So with that in mind, putting a low flow toilet in your house is a great thing. However, if you're running an old, antique, functionally obsolete sewer line, it's not a good combination. So that's something that plumbers know. I'm assuming most home inspectors know that. I'm sure not all of us know that, but I do know that. And so those are things I keep in mind when I'm inspecting a house, and then also doing the sewer line as well.
Right. No, that's a really good point to bring up, John. And one thing, that I look at in these homes is, the homes from 1950 with original waste lines underneath. And when the home was built, these cast iron and galvanized waste lines, they were only designed to last between 60 and 80 years. So here we are, 2021, 71 years later,
Yeah.
they're approaching the end of their service lifespan. So people, they assume that the plumbing system, just because the house is standing and in good shape, they assume that the plumbing system is designed to last forever, and that's just not the case. So these cast iron lines, they start to get rusty and deteriorate, and then people can have blockages and things can start happening.
Exactly. That's a good point, Robert. So once again, when I'm inspecting a house, I'm actually going under your house. If you call out a plumber just to do a sewer camera inspection, chances are he's not going under your house. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, in most cases, just as far as a sewer inspection, we're going to be looking for an access, either a sewer clean out on the side of the house, front of the house, or even a roof vent. But usually a sewer inspection specifically does not include going under the house and kind of checking out underneath.
Right.
That kind of falls more under the general home inspector's job.
Right. So this is a common misunderstanding with customers of mine. Once again, setting expectations is the point of my podcast, is to really let buyers know what this service entails. And time after time after time, it's always the same misunderstanding. And that is, so you're going to check all my pipes, right? No. If you just hire me to do the sewer, I'm just going to look for a clean out access around the perimeter of the house, on the wall, in the ground. Hopefully there's an access there. If not, I may be able to go through the roof, but I'm not there to inspect all of your plumbing. And I'm not there to put a camera through all your clean out accesses unless you want to pay for additional clean out accesses, because all that takes time. And once again, every time we put a camera into a line, we're risking damaging the camera,
right,
or losing the camera, because it can get stuck, and then you have to cut it off, and then you got to go spend $2,000 for a new camera. So if you're a home buyer out there, just understand that the sewer camera inspection is only intended to inspect the pipe that goes under the ground from your foundation, on the outside of your foundation, out to the street. That is all it's for. Now, if you have a multifamily property where you have like an ADU way in the back, there may be a clean out there too that's going to connect to the main line, which is the house's main line. That's typically how that works. So depending on the clean out, the location, is it accessible? Is it big enough? Does it have the right sweeps on it? All that comes into play. So the bottom line is there's no guarantee that if you call a sewer camera inspector out there, or a plumber, or whoever you want, it doesn't mean they're going to get into your line. Sometimes they're just not accessible, and sometimes you need to have a sewer access installed. Yeah,
that can be true, especially these older homes. I would say from the 20s and 30s. They never intended on someone coming in and running a sewer camera, so they did not install the waste lines in a manner that's going to allow a camera to get down in the line. So that could be true, where you would have to install a clean out just to gain access to perform an inspection. And then on top of that, they didn't even have to have clean outs back in those days. So you kind of have to retrofit the system just to perform an inspection in some cases.
Yeah.
That could definitely be the case.
Now, what's your opinion of pulling toilets to do the sewer?
I use it as a last resort. So when I come to the house, the first thing I'll do, I'll go inside the house actually and look how the bathrooms are laid out, and that'll give me an idea of how the plumbers ran the plumbing underneath the structure. And then I'll go on the exterior of the house and I'll look for clean outs, on the back wall, side wall, and maybe the crawl space entrance, front of the house, and I'll check there. If I don't see anything there, then I'm gonna be thinking I'm gonna try to go down the roof vent. I'll try to go down a roof vent for whatever reason. Maybe they remodeled and they put too many turns in the roof vent. Now the camera can't get down. Then the last thing is, okay, now we have to pull a toilet to run the camera. So that kind of changes things. Now we're starting to remove more than likely the cellar's toilet,
right,
to kind of gain access. Now it is possible But right away, when you put the camera and you're going through a couple of tight turning 90s, and it kind of can make it difficult to get the complete inspection done. Not impossible, but definitely it's not a guarantee you're going to get all the way out from there. So you may just use that as a tool just to get to the front yard to locate to where a clean out would have to be installed. So it may end up being more work after that. But it is, an entry point, not the best, but it does provide some level of accessibility.
Right. So, and like you said, now you're pulling a toilet, and keep in mind the buyer doesn't own the house yet. So
absolutely. No, I see that.
Yeah.
You have to really tread lightly with that because it's the seller's home, and we have to get their permission to do the work. And sometimes once we mention we're going to remove a toilet, they really can ruffle their feathers, and they may not want to allow you to do that. Or if we do it, they're real nervous, thinking we're going to mess up their home. So I've done it, but you just have to tread lightly and just make sure you do a really clean job putting down plastic, and when you're done putting the toilet back real nicely, and you wax seal, caulking, and cleaning up, and just making everyone feel comfortable. But it can be a problem sometimes.
And you're equipped to do all this because you're a plumber.
Exactly.
So you have a van full of gaskets. You have a van full of small bolts, new flanges, maybe if you need a new flange. You have all that. So people look at me sometimes and go, well, how come you won't pull the toilet? Because I'm not a plumber.
Exactly.
I don't have a van full of supplies to make this happen. So that's why I don't touch that. So unfortunately, it happens. And I always try to let my clients know and their realtors, hey, look, you just hired me to do a sewer inspection next week. Call the seller and have them look for it right now and just point it out. If it's not there, don't do the service because you may need a clean out. So, but I can let you know more when I get there what you should probably do. So I can always give them advice when I'm there, the best way to approach it.
Yeah, that's smart because a lot of times the sellers will know if they've had sewer problems in the past, and they know where their access is, their clean out. So yeah, that's smart. They'll be ready for you when you show up.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about some scenarios.
Sure.
Let me bring up some scenarios that I commonly find and what my customers should expect to pay during some of these repairs. So, like just 2 days ago, 2 days ago, I did a sewer line over in LA down by Mar Vista, and entered a brand new ABS cleanout. Woohoo! That was fun. I always get excited when I see those when I show up because I know it's going to be not that hard to do.
Right.
So when I don't see a cleanout, I'm like, oh man, now I got to tell the customer that I have no access. So anyway, I get into this pipe with my reel camera and push out about 60, 70 feet. A lot of stuff stuck to my lens, so I couldn't get a good view going out. But I cleaned it off before I started pulling back in, and man, I found a huge hole in the bottom of the pipe. So to give you some details, so you can probably give me a proper quote for this.
Sure.
It's a clay pipe. It's only 3 feet underground, and it's under grass. It's not under concrete.
Yeah.
So
I would say about $1,500 would be like a minimum spot repair under the grass, about 3 feet deep.
Okay, there you go. So that's helpful. That's very helpful. I don't give prices to people because if they don't call you, they may call someone else, like Joe's Plumbing.
Right.
And he may say, "Oh, it's $3,000."
Absolutely.
And then they're calling me and going, "Hey, you just said it was $1,500."
Yeah, and I'll have to say, keep in mind, I'm a small family business owner operator versus these big plumbing companies. You hear
a lot of overhead.
A lot of overhead. You hear them on the radio all day. You see their big, massive trucks driving down the road. You're going to pay at least twice as much, if not more, with these big companies for those reasons.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So now the same pipe that I just mentioned had a significant amount of roots in it. There was enough roots in one section to cause a blockage. So this brings up another question on top of this question, which is this whole pipe was clay. Right. I take it back. Half the pipe was clay, half was ABS plastic. So the clay part this, of course, is where the roots were.
Right.
I never see roots in ABS unless it's just totally disconnected for some reason, but typically that's rare. I don't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. I would say occasionally I'll see if the guys didn't put glue on the joints, or they didn't tighten down the bands well enough, and the roots could sneak their way in.
Yeah, exactly. So, this line had a lot of roots in it, and it obviously needed to be cleared. At the time I was there, the home was not occupied or partially occupied, and if I didn't use my 300-foot reel, I probably wouldn't have pushed through it. I used my smaller camera; it may not have pushed through it. Yeah, so there's a benefit to using that 300.
Yeah,
I know that's your go-to, and that's also my go-to now.
Yeah, you'll gain more intel and won't work as hard to get there.
Yes, exactly. So, what do you think? That line was about 60 feet. I'd say at least 30 feet of it were clay.
Okay.
So I know in the past we've spoken about hydrojetting a clay pipe. There's risks involved.
Yes.
Can you give me more detail on that?
So hydrojetting is a great tool, and what it is with high pressure water, we're able to cut roots out of clay sewer lines usually. And what happens is that you have to think, how did the roots get into the pipe to begin with? There could be a hole in the pipe, or the pipe could be badly cracked from possibly the 94 earthquake or other earth movement that we've had over time. So what happens is we go into the line with the hydrojetter and we start introducing 3,000 psi of water coming through a spinning head to cut the roots. And we want to make sure we're only running the machine long enough to cut the roots, and then put the camera back in the line and make sure that the piping isn't falling apart due to us kind of loosening up the roots and adding so much high pressure water into these damaged areas. So you kind of have to go in surgically and just wash it up a little bit and go back in with the camera and check in on it, and just make sure you're not making the problem worse. Right. So in some cases, I'll go in, the pipe could be full with roots, and I'll cut out 80 to 90% of the roots, and I'll leave just a little bit of roots there. And the client will say, "Hey, why didn't you cut those out too?" And I'll say, it probably would have caused more harm than good. We could have got to a point where we were beating on this pipe so much that in order to try to get that one little piece of root out, now there's a chance the pipe could collapse.
Oh yeah, that's not good. I'd hate to be you when that happens.
Yeah, no, I try to always avoid those scenarios.
Yeah, that's not a good one. So I hope everyone's understanding what we're getting at here. So there's a lot of unknowns with sewer laterals, and trying to inspect them and trying to clean them. It's not a guarantee, and it's a very gray area, and I want everyone to know that it's not cut and dry. Oh, how come you didn't get to the end of my line? Well, why am I paying you? Well, the purpose of the inspection, once again, is to tell you the condition of the line. So if I was to push my camera in 5 feet and say, "Oh, by the way, this thing's completely collapsed," well, how come you couldn't get all the way out to the street? Because it's collapsed. So now you know the condition of the pipe. The pipe is not serviceable. It's not accessible. You have an immediate collapse. Now, the rest of the pipe might be fine, or the rest of the pipe might be collapsed. You don't know. So, unfortunately, yes, we are still going to require payment because we went out there and tried to inspect your line. Now we're telling you need a plumber to come out here and do a spot repair in that collapsed area. And then when he's done fixing it, he can run his line all the way out, and then you'll get the rest of your inspection done. But understand the gray area here. We don't know what we're going to run into, and that's the purpose of the inspection. So don't take it out of context of what we're doing.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say a standard sewer inspection definitely goes a long way helping you know what's going on. Another thing I really want to get out there to someone who's buying a home considering a sewer inspection is that the sewer line is the only utility for the house where the homeowner is responsible in most cases all the way to the middle of the street. Gas piping, it usually starts on the side of your house, so you're not responsible. A water main, which brings in the incoming potable water, usually starts near the curb and sidewalk, and you're responsible from the meter up to the house. But the sewer line actually goes into the middle of the street, and it's usually very deep underground, it could be 8, 10, 12, 15 feet underground. Now, if the sewer line were to be broken in the middle of the street, now the homeowner is responsible for the excavation, traffic control, safety procedures, all sorts of things, repaving the road. And it's the only utility where the homeowner would be responsible to get in the street and be required to do street work.
Can you explain the traffic control part?
So let's say you live on a quiet street. So in a normal residential neighborhood on a quiet street, the contractors, they can just set up some cones and it's pretty light traffic, so there's not much traffic control. But if your house was on a busy street where there's much heavier traffic, now in order to replace the sewer line, you have to hire usually a third-party traffic controller to safely set up all the flashing lights, cones, etc., to divert the traffic around the sewer work, because you're responsible for the sewer line in the city street. And this just makes the job price go higher and higher when you're paying these the traffic controllers in order to get the job done.
Yeah, because if you're doing the work, you have to put their cost into your bid.
Absolutely, and right. And they're not cheap. To send a couple guys out there with all this equipment and kind of monitor the traffic and keep things safe. So there's a lot of things to consider, and I feel like because sewer lines are underground, nobody's thinking about it, or you don't see it. It's not right in front of you. So it could easily be overlooked, but it could be a huge, costly mistake.
Yeah. So a typical, I know other plumbers. I know you. I know what I charge for sewer camera inspections. I think I give a pretty reasonable price if I'm already there doing the home inspection. Typically, it's $199 to $225. I'm charging for, you might come out, you may charge $295, $275, $300, depending on the property, because from your experience, just like I know, this house is going to be problematic.
Right.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, sometimes they're smooth and easy, 45 minutes, and other times, we're working our butts off over an hour and a half on the roof and setting up ladders and in and out, up and down the ladder, locating the line. So you never know what you're going to get into sometimes before you start.
Yeah, and we're risking our neck carrying gear up onto a roof, not to mention. And if there's only one of us there, sometimes these are just two-man jobs. So if I know it's a two-man job, I'll just tell my client, look, I'm just going to refund your money. I know you already paid. I'm going to refund your sewer money, and I'm going to recommend you get a plumbing crew out here that has enough manpower to do this, because this is a very, very complex sewer situation you have here. Some houses are just that way, and you never know until you show up.
Right.
100%. What's going to happen. So so back to some scenarios. Let's talk about good old Orangeburg pipe.
Oh yes, Orangeburg sewer line. So that is the worst quality sewer piping I run into. And what Orangeburg is, it's a tar paper type material that they don't use it anymore. It's not approved. And what happens is over time, the shape of the pipe is lost, and it turns up getting smashed and turns into more of an oval shape than a round shape.
Right.
And then it gets all these dimples inside the piping, and then the roots can easily get in. And once the roots are in, the roots will just blow it to smithereens. And the problem with the Orangeburg is once it has roots in it, we cannot hydrojet the line to cut the roots out, because the hydrojet is too powerful and it'll blow a hole through the piping, because it's only tar paper.
I refer to it as paper mache.
Yes.
Because to me, that's what is, a paper mache with tar on it.
Right.
That to me is the best way I can describe it to a customer. So getting back to one thing you just mentioned about it turns oval because it starts collapsing, and then the bottom of the pipe, sometimes the sides too, starts caving in, and you get these humps.
Right.
And the humps now restrict water flow, and they now restrict the toiletries from running down the pipe to the city connection like they're supposed to. So there's a lot of problems that are inherent when you have that kind of pipe. I still find it now and again, and sometimes it's hard to spot because sometimes it's in good shape.
Right. No, sometimes it holds its shape kind of decent. And other times it just kind of can fall apart and the roots can get right into it.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure. I got to go back to my office and look at that on a high definition screen and see what that is. And sure enough, I was right when I first thought, it looks like Orangeburg. But I like to confirm it once I've opened up that file. And
sometimes you can see it a little better on the computer at home.
Because the glare from the sun when you're out there in the field working, it can be a little challenging. By the way, did you buy that umbrella yet?
I have a umbrella, but not the one you probably recommended.
That thing is great. That is a great umbrella. It takes 2 seconds to set it up, and it takes all that heat off of you and the glare, and you can just take your time.
Right.
Focus on what you're doing.
No,
wow, it's a lifesaver.
What a difference when you can think without the sun beating on your neck.
I know. I know. Cast iron we talked about. The Orangeburg is what year do you think most homes would have Orangeburg? What range?
I think around the 60s and 70s, you'll probably run into some Orangeburg.
Yeah. And
also you'll see a combination of it too, where they would use Orangeburg would be the straight sections of piping, and then they would use clay fittings for the turns, for like a 45-degree turn, have a clay Y or 45. And then it could be a combination. Absolutely.
I haven't seen that combination yet. I haven't seen that. Typically, I just see straight runs.
Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah. So they use it for the straight run there, and then the turns in the beginning, turns in the end.
Oh,
but you'll probably see if there's a turn in the middle, it'll be probably a 4-inch clay fit in.
We got 30 feet of clay. We got 40 feet of Orangeburg, and you're looking at the Orangeburg is under the front lawn, but extends all the way out under the sidewalk.
Okay. Or let's just make it a little simpler. Let's just say it's stopped right at the sidewalk.
Okay.
On the homeowner's side of the sidewalk, right on his property line. And then let's say we're in the lawn there, it was about 6 feet deep. And let's say the pipe exits the front of the house. It's also in the lawn. And so we got 70 feet of pipe to replace. It's 3 feet deep where it exits the house, 6 feet deep at the front property line. We'd probably be at about $8,500 for a job like that.
Okay.
And what we would do, we would dig one hole where the pipe exits the front of the house, dig another hole right at the sidewalk there on the customer's side, right at the property line, and we would perform a pipe burst. So what a pipe burst is, we would anchor a large machine underground, most likely in the deep hole at the front property line, and then from the shallow hole, we would run a cable through the pipe, the existing pipe, and then on one end we'd hook the cable up to the machine, and on the other end we'd hook a bursting head, and behind the bursting head we would connect 75 feet of new polyethylene piping, 4-inch in diameter. So it's the same diameter, but what we do is when the machine starts pulling the new line in place, first thing to come through is the bursting head. The bursting head is 5 inches in diameter, so it's 1 inch bigger. So the bursting head is going to completely obliterate the existing line. It's just going to crack it and move it out 1 inch. And then it's going to pull the brand new 4-inch polyethylene line right in place. So little by little, it starts pulling and tugging, and the machine has 40 tons of pulling power. So just little by little, it's going to pull this new line in place and break the old one. And after a little time passes, and maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours, it pulls from hole to hole. Once it's all the way in, now you have a brand new 75-foot high-density polyethylene sewer line, which is the highest quality material pipe we can put in the ground. And this high-density polyethylene, it's the same piping the gas company uses. I'm always seeing these yellow coils in the back of their truck, and they're installing it underground with a boring system. Very strong material. We actually had a job once where we were laying out 100 feet of the polyethylene in the customer's driveway, and his son, was in a rush to leave, so he came out in a big SUV and ran all the material over with the SUV. He ran it all over, and we still installed it. Nothing happened to it. It was fine. So it just goes to show you can run it over with a truck and pull it underground with this bursting machine. It's the strongest material, and once that piping's in place, it's rated to last over 100 years. So that should outlast all of our lifetimes. But yeah, a job like that, 75 feet long, it'd be about $8,500 with the excavation and replacement of the piping with a 10-year warranty.
So with the pipe burst?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's safe to say that the only joints there are at one end and the other end, right?
Exactly. The piping comes in 20-foot lengths, and we heat it and we fuse it together. So there's fusion joints every 20 feet, and the piping, the manufacturer says the fusion joints are stronger than the pipe itself. And you think, how could that be? And it sounds kind of weird, but I've actually been on some pipe bursts where the ground is so hard. One time it actually pulled the pipe itself tore, it like ripped, but the fusion joints were all still intact. So I'm confident how strong these fusion joints are. And now, so you can picture, approximately 70 or 75 feet of piping with fusion joints. Now we just have to connect to it at the beginning where it exits the house. So we'll install an ABS clean out. We'll use Husky bands, which are the heavy duty, has 4 clamps on it.
Right.
So two on the clean out side, 2 on the polyethylene, clamp it together real strong. And then on the other side near the sidewalk, we'll put a Husky band, and then we'll transition to ABS with maybe a 3-foot piece. And then we'll put a heavy duty 6x4 transition coupling to connect to the 6-inch clay lateral, which is usually in that area.
Right. Okay.
So once all that's with these heavy duty bands and polyethylene goes in, you should easily get 100 years, if not more.
Now what about roots getting into that?
I've never seen a tree root get into a polyethylene pipe. I haven't even seen it yet. And I've seen it on ABS, which is they look similar. They're both black in color, the piping, but the polyethylene is for pulling underground. The ABS is most common. You would see like under a house. And the difference is the ABS is designed to be glued into a fitting with ABS glue. And like we were talking earlier, sometimes I'll see roots get into ABS where maybe the plumber didn't glue the pipe,
right? And
then the roots are able to get in. Or in some rare cases, ABS piping could even crack if the plumber put a lot of force on it and the 45-degree angle wasn't quite right, and he forced the joint together. And then over time, the pressure, it cracked the fitting just a little bit, and then roots could get in.
Yep.
So if it's installed correctly, we don't really see roots getting into ABS. And I've never seen it get into the polyethylene just because the stuff's just like pretty indestructible.
Yeah, either have I. So when I'm pulling my camera through a pipe that's got maybe an epoxy liner or something like that, I typically see a stamping on it.
Oh, yes.
And that's how I can identify it.
Yes.
There's stamped, there's like words and numbers on it.
So yeah, now that's the pipelining system, and that's the second method of trenchless, and that's where there's a little confusion too. People say trenchless and they think there's one method of trenchless, but really there's 2. And the first method I was talking to you about was the pipe bursting method, and that's where we physically pull a new line in place. And that's the best system because you get a new high density polyethylene pipe. The second method of trenchless sewer replacement is pipe relining. So that's where we're able to inject a sleeve, they call it, into an existing pipe that's impregnated with an epoxy resin. And then once the sleeve goes in, put a balloon inside of it, it inflates. It has time to cure, a couple hours of curing time, and then we pull the balloon out, and you're left with a pipe that's been rehabilitated with a pipe lining. And yes, you can see when you run the camera, you can see the stamp on the inside. Usually says how thick the material is. It'll be 3.5 millimeter, or now the code is it has to be 4.5 millimeters thick.
Really?
Where before, when these
when did that go into effect?
The exact date I'd have to check, But I know that when the pipelining first came out, the 3.5 millimeter material was very popular because it was less expensive. But because it was so thin and they were still working on perfecting the glues and epoxies, I have seen cases where roots have broken through those pipe linings over time. But now that they have the 4.5 millimeter available and they've kind of perfected the epoxy, that stuff, once it goes in, when you have the thickness of 4.5 millimeters, it's solid. It's I sometimes compare it to like a PVC pipe. Like once it cures, very thick and very heavy duty and rugged. And I'm definitely a believer in that stuff.
And here's a good question for you. I see certain cities, they use white PVC drain sewer lateral pipe.
Yes.
Others use ABS plastic. Explain that difference to me, because to me it's a little confusing. Why is there two different types of PVC pipe and used in residential applications? I don't quite follow that.
Yeah, I guess it all depends what city you're in and just what material they're allowing to have in their city.
So it's the city deciding.
Yeah, each city could have its own rules and different requirements and different material they like to see. So you kind of just have to follow your local guidelines where you're doing the job.
So it's a city code.
Yes.
Okay. So there's plumbing code and there's a city code.
Exactly. There's the uniform plumbing code, but then specific areas and cities might have, little changes and variations to the specific material they want you to use, in their city.
Got it. Okay. Now, how does one know if white PVC pipe is found if that city required it? Where can we look?
Well, I guess, you can check and see if there was a permit, pulled on the job. And then also, you can call your local building department and ask to speak to one of the inspectors and see if they can kind of answer some of these questions for you.
Confirm it. Yeah.
Confirm what materials are approved and what they require in their city.
Yeah, sometimes I see that, and that's exactly what I tell my customers.
Right.
I see white PVC here, which is typically not found in this area.
Right.
So this may be a code violation. But I'm a home inspector. I'm a generalist. I don't report code.
Right.
But I do let them know if I see something out of the ordinary, and I tell them to take the ball and run with it and call a plumber or contact the city to, hey, let's determine this and confirm it, whether it's okay or not. Because if that's the case and it's not allowed, then I got to let them know. And they need to find out, because they have to replace that or shoot a pipe burst in it to get rid of it, whatever it takes to get rid of it. Because if it fails, they're going to be pretty upset.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's always good to know what you got.
But if you had, let's say, well, you're a plumber, let's say you just built yourself a new house and you had an option. Which one would you use? ABS or the white PVC?
You know what? They're actually both of them are very good products. I actually used to live in Florida a long time ago, and that's where I started my first plumbing apprenticeship. And out there, they use all PVC. It's all you go into a building, you see it's all PVC. You see the purple primers all over it. The fittings are all the same, the 45s, 90s, combis, but it's all PVC.
So to be clear, you're talking about the white PVC.
Exactly. It's white, Schedule 40.
Schedule 40. Okay.
PVC. So it's a heavy duty. It's not the thin wall stuff or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started working plumbing in California, it's all ABS. ABS, black plastic, only use one black glue, no primer. And the stuff looks very similar. I've been primarily, since of course being a contractor here in California, working with ABS only. I really like the stuff. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I have heard that the PVC is a little bit higher in quality actually than ABS.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, so I think it is a little bit better, but it's still ABS is primarily used here, and it is up to code. So we just kind of go with what's available here and what everyone's kind of doing here.
So to clarify a little more, you mentioned that the white PVC is Schedule 40. So what is the rating on the black ABS?
It's also a heavy duty Schedule 40
Okay.
material. Yeah.
Okay, so they're both Schedule 40.
I'm pretty sure the PVC is a little bit heavier. If you were to hold up a 10-foot length of each one, the PVC is a little bit more heavy duty.
Okay, so Robert, what I want to go over real quick is what's the percentage of sewer camera inspections you do a month that have issues? Like,
I would say 80% of the homes or sewer lines I inspect have some sort of recommendation for repair. Either it could be as simple as just a little bit of hydrojetting maintenance, or there could be, repairs that are needed. Absolutely. So most of them, I would say most sewer lines have problems, and recommendations for repairs are usually made on most inspections.
right. So, what I notice is, let me ask you this first. If you were trying to give advice to your average homeowner
Yes.
as to how often they should check their line, have it inspected, like if they're living in the house for a long time, like every couple years, every 5 years.
That's a good question. I ask people, how long have you lived here? And I'll say, is there a history of any, blockages or sewer issues? And if they've been here 10 years, 15 years and never had a problem, then you can kind of let it ride, I would say. But if you knew there wasn't some underlying issues, like, oh yeah, we've had some blockages in the sewer, then it's kind of different. Then you might want to, have it inspected every year or two to kind of, so what's going on. Are the roots growing back really fast? And do we need to have the line serviced, cleaned out with a hydrojetter? So then it changes a little bit, I would say.
Right. So
you have a problem.
Yeah. So I kind of, when I show up to a house, I look at the front yard. Is there tons of vegetation out there? Is there a huge tree like right in the middle on the front grass between the street and the house?
Yes.
And that's most likely right where the sewer lateral is running anyway. Typically, when I see that scenario, unless it was just upgraded, there's going to be some root intrusions. There might be some cracks. There might be some offsets. That's something we haven't discussed yet, is offsets. So let's get into that a little bit too now. So, explaining an offset to a customer is pretty cut and dry. I go like this. Here's one pipe. Here's the other. They should fit like this.
Right.
Sometimes they go like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go one's higher than the other. Sometimes they're at an angle.
Yeah.
And that's where the roots come in.
Right.
They were never installed right, or in the beginning they were never installed right, or they have shifted from our lovely earthquake activity we have here on occasion.
Right.
No drainage in the yard will allow the dirt underneath those pipes to move, and they can drop a little bit. There's all kinds of scenarios that can cause an offset. So let me hear from you about offsets.
So yeah, I would say there's a lot of offset sewer lines out there where the clay piping over time it shifts underground, so now the joints aren't perfectly aligned anymore. And I would say minor offsets aren't really a huge problem. But I would say if it's like severely offset, like really like a 50% difference in how they're lining up, that's pretty serious. But little minor offsets, like, it moved like 10 or 15%, even 20%. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. And when I run the camera in, when I see these offsets in an inspection, if they're not clogged at the time of inspection, that just kind of shows that it was draining before you even put the camera in. Right. So I'll just mention that, it does have some imperfections that might have to be addressed one day, but right now it's kind of acceptable or in serviceable condition.
Okay. Yeah. And another thing that can be found during a sewer camera inspection is the pipe may not have the proper pitch.
Right.
It may be level for like 10, 15, 20 feet. So, water needs to drain to the lowest point. And when you're installing a sewer line, what is it? 1 inch per foot?
A quarter inch per foot
okay.
of slope.
Yep.
You can also get away with an eighth of an inch per slope in straight pipe. But once you get into fittings, they want you to hit the quarter inch a foot per slope.
Okay. So that means your house, when all your pipes under your bathrooms and kitchen and everything connect, and they start going under the dirt, under your foundation or through your foundation, and then reach the outside of your house, that's going to be at one height. So if it's discharging out to the street, that pipe from the house all the way to the street needs to be on a pitch for it to drain properly, because the drain pipe is meant to what? Drain.
Yeah, drain the waste out. Yeah, and you want this constant 1/4 inch foot of slope so that all the water and the paper and the waste, it all kind of flows together and doesn't separate.
Right. Yeah. Right. You want it all to just get carried out and go bye-bye down the city. Down the city. And where does it go from there?
It'll eventually get to the city sewer treatment plant, and they'll process it and do what they have to do with it.
Okay. And let's see. I want to also ask you about a clay pipe. I hear a lot of customers panic when I tell them they have clay pipe, and I don't quite understand why they're panicking, because just about every house I see has a certain amount of clay pipe from the city connection, probably to the sidewalk.
Yes.
So what's your input on that?
And that's true, John. For some reason, a lot of people think clay piping is bad, just because and usually it's older clay piping, but you can still go out now and buy brand new clay piping. But for some reason, clay has a weird stigma to it. But the truth is, the clay piping, it's rated to last over 300 years. Wow. And the problem we're seeing is, though, over time, like if you go to a sewer line from the 50s, we've had earthquakes, since 1950, or even older homes. We've had earthquakes over time. And when the earth moves, these pipes are moving too underground. And then you get the joints shifting. Maybe the clay pipe will crack because of the earth movement, and now the roots get in. So it's really not the material itself. It's just things that have happened to it.
Adverse conditions
over time. So in my opinion, I'd rather have a clay sewer line as opposed to a cast iron sewer line, because eventually the cast iron, it's going to rust and corrode and get holes in it. The clay, it's never going to rust or corrode because it's clay.
That's a good point. Now, what about excuse me? What about concrete pipe?
So concrete piping, we're not really seeing that, on new installations anymore. We see them, when I see them now, it's typically in laterals from the property line right next to the sidewalk up to the city connection in the street. And they're usually older lines, like 80 or 100 years old. They've probably been there. I would say if you inspect it and it looks like it's in fair condition, then I'm okay with it. But you could, if it was kind of also, it could get cracks too, just like clay. And, it may need to be rehabilitated at some point or replaced. Right. But overall, a lot of them I'm seeing out there kind of look to be in fair condition, and I haven't really seen substantial damage to them.
I think that kind of wraps up the details about the importance of getting a sewer camera inspection, especially when you're buying someone else's house, whether it's new or old. You got to look at this pipe, because you just can't take someone's word for it. And like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, don't get fooled by a ABS plastic cleanout and sticking out of the ground of your 1950s home. Right. Chances are that's the only piece that is ABS plastic. Most of the time, that's the case. If you're going into a real estate transaction, request disclosures as soon as possible. Ask the important questions are, hey, was there any work done to the sewer lateral underground between the home and the street? If you just say, was the plumbing upgraded to the cellar, they're only thinking of what's under the house if it's got a raised foundation. So it's all in the translation of what you're asking. And if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. And that's a very common thing. Remember, once again, your general home inspector, like myself, is going to comment on the pipes under the house and the visible pipes under the sinks in the house. And then a sewer inspection is going to comment about the pipes underground between the foundation of your house and the street or the alley, whichever way it goes. That's the difference of the two things. So honestly, as a home inspector that does sewer inspections, I think I have an upper hand in one sense, and that is I've already been under the house before I do my sewer inspection. So, like I mentioned earlier, and Robert confirmed, he's not there to go under your house if he's just doing your sewer lateral. But because I was already there as the home inspector, I've already gone under the house if it has a raised foundation, and I've looked at the pipes. I can see that there may be still some cast iron in service. I can see the direction of which way the pipe's exiting the house. Is it to the front? Is it to the side? I can see all that. So that's the upper hand I think I have by doing your sewer inspection the same time I'm there. I can come up with maybe a little bit more information otherwise. So that's the importance of doing it because you can pay a couple $100, $200, $300 during your inspection contingency period, or you can pay $20,000 to $25,000 in a worst case scenario to replace your whole line between your house foundation and the city connection. That's the reality. Am I right?
No, absolutely. It's highly recommended. Anyone buying a home, just go ahead and get the sewer inspection, because if problems are discovered, you'll be happy you found them before you close the deal. Wouldn't want to be stuck with a $20,000 or $30,000 bill.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the smallest repair to an underground sewer lateral is what, $2,000?
We could do a small spot repair for $1,500 in the grass, you know. But yeah, basically it could easily go $2,000.
But that's you.
Yeah.
I mean, someone else. Oh yeah, it's going to be $2,000, 20. I'm just saying.
Absolutely, average, you're right in the ballpark for sure.
Yeah, so like about $2,000 for, and I mean, so you want to spend $200 or $300 during your inspection contingency period. Maybe you get a credit for that $2,000 or more. Maybe it's a $10,000 repair. Maybe you can get a credit. It's really smart to get all the facts before you complete your transaction. It's just really good advice. So I hope you follow it. I hope you found the podcast educational and informational. And once again, don't panic if you're buying a home. Just get all the facts and just take the advice from your inspectors and your specialists like plumbers and roofers and HVAC guys. Just take all that information, put it all together, and then make your final decision, knowing what the costs are. So I want to thank Robert, but we got to plug Robert a little bit here. Robert is a plumber. He's a licensed plumber. And your service areas are what?
A pretty large service area. I go, I'm out of Simi Valley, but I go in all throughout San Fernando Valley, go into Los Angeles, Glendale, Pasadena. So I have Thousand Oaks.
Okay, that's pretty wide.
Yeah, so
that's like a 50-mile radius, probably.
It's a pretty big radius, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, good. And the type of plumbing that you stick to is typically what?
A lot of the stuff I'm doing is working for people when they're buying homes. So the problems John might find in the plumbing system when someone's purchasing a home, maybe they need a new water heater, there's a leak, or they want to, update some of their plumbing, or a problem in a sewer line that John would have found in his inspection, then I could come in and make those repairs.
Or anybody else that might have inspected it too, right?
Exactly. And then just general plumbing, someone has a leak or a water heater, stuff like that. Just kind of general plumbing.
So what stuff don't you do?
I don't do new construction and remodeling. I just stick to things that come up for people buying homes, and then just general plumbing service and repair stuff. So
you're just a one-man band like me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm keeping it simple for now.
Yeah, keep it simple,
and,
which means
just staying in my lane.
Yeah, that's important. We all need to stay in our lane. Robert's done some work for me in the past. He's actually installed my water heater in my house. Did a fantastic job, and he actually included the expansion tank.
Yes.
and the sediment trap, and the safety pan, and the seismic strapping. Real quick on water heaters, as a home inspector, every day I find something wrong with water heaters. Just the lowest bidder put it in, or the homeowner put it in. No expansion tanks, no safety measures taken on the tanks themselves when they're installed. Just hokey work and stuff like that. And I've referred Robert to other people, and they've been happy with his service as well. So there's a lot of plumbers out there. I'm sure you've seen 50 plumbing trucks every day. You're on the freeway.
Oh yeah, we're everywhere.
Yeah, there's plumbing trucks everywhere. So if you're looking for a quality plumber, give Robert a call at
818-606-4351.
Is that a text number too? You can text.
Yes, you can call or text, or it's Robert Deyl Plumbing at gmail.com.
How do you spell it?
Robert Deyl Plumbing at gmail.com.
And what's your website?
RobertDaylPlumbing.com.
Okay, well, that's simple. All right, so once again, that's going to wrap up episode 4 with my first live person guest. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, John. It was a real pleasure.
So, so with that in mind, I want to plug myself now. I always got to do that.
Absolutely.
So once again, I'm John Laforme, a CREA certified inspector in Southern California, Los Angeles area. I do cover probably about a 50-mile radius as well. I offer general home inspections, and you guessed it, sewer camera inspections, mold inspections, mold testing, swimming pool inspections as well. So if you're looking for any of that, please give me a call at 800-950-8184. The website is homeinspectionauthority.com, and you can catch me on social media: Facebook, Home Inspection Authority, Instagram, Authority Inspector, TikTok. I just started. I've only had one post, but I'm working on it, and that's also Authority Inspector. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you, Robert.
All right. No, you got it. Nice talking with you, John.